Everybody uses drugs. Everybody uses drugs to some extent. That might look different for everybody, but everybody uses drugs. You know, at this point, we need to have the biggest tool belt of everything that we can figure out to help people. I would say that we're enabling life. We're enabling people to live for another minute, for another hour, for another day, for another week. It doesn't matter. The length of time doesn't matter to me. We're enabling somebody to live.
I went to do a Narcan training at this methadone place, and my supervisor was with me. And, you know, we did our thing, right? It's pretty early when we get out. It's like 9:15. We're in the parking lot. And I don't know, something just kept on telling me just stay in the parking lot, right? And, you know, we have a smoke, we smoke a cigarette, and I don't know, like something just kept on telling me, you know, stay there. And as she's gonna reach for her door, I keep striking conversation, right? Out of the corner of my eye, I see this man running, freaking out. His buddy was overdosing in his car. I take the bag that I got with me for the Narcan, right? And I run over there. And I open the door and there's this young kid, man. Probably my son's age. Pretty big kid though. And I can't get him out. He's out cold. He's out cold. I could barely even feel a pulse on him. I hit him with Narcan and I start breathing for him. And I'm breathing for him, right? And I'm counting how many times I'm breathing every 5 seconds. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, so if after 15 breaths, I'm gonna hit him again. So I hit him again with the Narcan. By this time, there's like 50 people behind me, freaking out. And I feel, as soon as I Narcan the second time, somebody pulls me off of him, and it's a nurse. I don't know from where she came from. And I tell her, listen, you gotta wait a couple minutes before you administer Narcan, right? And she doesn't listen, she Narcans him, and literally within a few seconds, you could see just the Narcan coming down. So I grab her, I tell her to get the fuck out, you know. And I cursed at her and I apologized. I tried to apologize after it, right? And I continued breathing for this brother and I Narcan him again the third time. Literally, maybe 7, 8, maybe 10 minutes passed, I don't know. Got his head on my arm and my hand. And I'm about to tongue him down again with breath. Literally, I'm about to, you know, and I'm inside of me, it's that feeling's already coming. Just give up, it's gone, right? Inside of me, bro, I'm like, man, fuck that. And I'm like 2 or 3 inches from his face, man, he opens up his eyes. Literally, huge. I'll never forget it.
Because a lot of people aren't able to have these conversations with anybody else in their life, other than maybe their peers that they're already having them with. But especially in the healthcare system and the medical system, a lot of our folks are completely left out of the dialogue on how they should be cared for, which is crazy.
It's to the point where I don't even like to tell my primary care that I'm using because I feel they judge me and then I won't get the appropriate help that I need help for. Same with my psychiatrist, my med provider. It's like I want to be totally honest, but yet I can't be totally honest because I won't get the help I need to get help.
We know that the stigma of addiction and the stigma of substance use disorder has led to this crisis as well, particularly when we are talking about drugs that are injected. It carries so much stigma and so much judgment around people, and that hurts. When we look at case studies of people who have died, we can pull out some common themes, and it's people using alone, their family members not knowing that they relapsed or had been using, people feeling shameful, and that silence and that shame and that stigma is one of the driving forces of this crisis as well.
There's a misconception that people that use drugs don't take care of each other or themselves, but this is already going on and has been going on forever. But I think what's needed now is that we need this bigger response from the wider community to support this stuff, because again, it's happening everywhere. I personally have lost a lot of people from overdose, and definitely at least half of them were alone when they passed away.
Well, one of my friends, he had bought some drugs, and I had asked him like the name of the bags and stuff, the drugs. And he told me, so I had told him like you need to be careful with those. You know, we're from the streets, so we know who's got what and what's good and what's not good. And I told him, be careful. So that same day I came back home, I was on my back porch, and he was sitting there. We're talking like normal. I'm smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden he fell down the stairs. He was sitting in the middle of the stairs, some long flight of stairs. He just started rolling down the stairs. And then I'm pushing him, asking him, hey, what's going on, man? What's up? He's not responding, nothing. I thought he was knocked out. So my sister was like, listen, you need to check him. Maybe he did drugs. And I was like, oh, them bags of drugs that he did, heroin. And I went in the house and I got the Narcan in the nose. I sprayed him with that. I really didn't know how to use it, but I figured it out, and I used it on him. So when I hit him with that, he woke up, ambulance was there, but he's dead today. He's somebody I knew. I got 3 of my friends that I knew, I was just with, within the past 6 months, that they passed away on overdose.
I think how we reduce stigma around all of this is to humanize people, because they are human, and this is such a natural, suffering. If we're talking about suffering, the root causes of addiction, in my opinion, and strife and all of that, we really need to focus on why people are using drugs. And we're having these conversations about language. We're having these conversations about, we don't say addicts anymore, we say people that use drugs, because they're a person before any behavior.
What I want the world to know about Mike is that's the sort of guy that everybody in the world would like to know, I think, if they met him. Just really fun, good-hearted, a beautiful person through and through. And I hope that they don't just think of him as a drug addict, like a guy who's just had a problem, or somebody who's evil for some reason because he used drugs. Because if you knew him, you would know that in his heart there was nothing but good.
That we're normalizing conversations. I'm normalizing whatever you're gonna tell me. Because if I come at you with a reaction of like, oh, whoa, that's gonna be off-putting, and then you're not gonna wanna come see me. Those judgments need to be pushed out. So it doesn't mean that I can't be concerned, or I might not want you to do what you're doing, but if I can show up to you without that judgment and with that love and that active listening and really just like sitting with you and then kind of having you direct where you want to go with whatever you're telling me, that's what helps people.
Making sure that our community leaders and the people who intersect with our community every day follow that practice, follow that practice of harm reduction, follow that practice of recognizing where someone is at and coming in with an empathetic approach of, I don't know your story, I haven't walked in your shoes, let's figure this out together.
But it's really about that trust and being able to be monitored and having people there that understand how to respond to overdoses.
Now me experiencing overdoses, I done saved, like, I could say, in the past 2 years, I think about 14 people that I actually Narcan and save. And every person that I Narcan and CPR and I bring back to respond, I also call 911 right after.
The OE&D program, Overdose Education and Naloxone Distribution, has been funded by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health since 2007. There was a lot of underground advocacy where throughout the country there were people getting Narcan prior to the state. So I want to make that clear and highlight those folks that really paved the way for this funded program in Massachusetts.
But you know that a lot of people also could have been saved if there were more people in the hoods, like, giving them a Narcan, because there's people that know about it and they'll use it. I know people right now that they won't take it from you, but they'll take it from me. You understand? And they do a lot of heroin. But if you don't have one of those around, so that's like gold right now. People don't realize it.
You know, it's a really interesting world that we live in now, because now we have police officers giving out Narcan, we have you know, hospitals giving it out, and I think that's great. I don't think that we should ever stop figuring out other areas where naloxone and Narcan should be, but we really need to put it in the hands of the people that are constantly overdosing themselves and the people that are constantly responding to overdoses, who are their peers and people that are using drugs.
It really is a community problem, and the solutions do lie within the way that we interact as human beings toward one another, professionally and personally.